Because obviously that would have
If it was Jetson, it would have been, yeah.
The Jetsons.
Jetson.
Okay.
And so, and then of course Sky Vision, which is the beyond visual line of sight capability that we have here that the UAS Center uses for a lot of the testing. And then over when we were by the lift aircraft Hexa, the folks in that hangar were working on an OFRN, so the Ohio Federal Research Network, one of the projects. So they have various rounds, competitions, and they give grants to companies to come and demonstrate technology. So it's trying to get the research out there. And so with the recent advent in the last 1 or 2 years, getting all of this fuel for advanced air mobility in the flying car, OFRN has modeled their rounds around the technologies to support that industry. So Springfield Beckley being the home of all of that, we also, of course you met Harley from Beta and you saw the lift. We want to grow this home for the entire industry, for the entire advanced air mobility industry. So I'm going to skip through a couple of slides because I think you know who we are in terms of Dayton Development Coalition. But just a quick, snapshot. What are we talking about? This, urban air mobility. So it's the opportunity to move people safely, efficiently from, short distances. When you look at Lyft, that right now has a 15-minute range on it, to longer distances. So when you talk to Beta and Joby and some of the other companies, their ranges are a little more significant depending on the range. But we're looking at everything from moving people to moving cargo to moving organs. The demo I talked about that happened in Columbus was an organ transplant. So they moved it from the hospital to a vehicle and then onto an autonomous air vehicle that delivered it to where it needed to be. So those are all the different things that we're looking at. And then the other one is the public services. So Harley hit on it when he talked about, the emergency use cases. Can you imagine being able to get to the scene of an accident with someone in a flying car that can now lay eyes on the site and say, hey, I need, this kind of support, they're in this kind of shape, and actually get to where they need to be quickly and efficiently. So sometimes someone calls in and says, hey, I'm in a ditch, I don't know where I'm at, right? But if you now have the capability to really pinpoint. So lots of applications there. So that's the industry itself in terms of advanced air mobility. So seeing the opportunity to continue to grow that here at Springfield, given we are the home to all of that. The city of Springfield is partnered with the airport, with different folks that are already here, like the Ohio UAS Center, and they were going to be breaking ground probably late summer to fall on the National Advanced Air Mobility Center of Excellence. And so that's huge news, so that when you've got Beta and you've got Lyft, that they have a place to put a Hexa, to put their aircraft. So we're looking at hangar space and also, of course, office space for that collaboration for the companies to come in, and also not just for the prime companies that are actually building the aircraft, but their subcontractors, the suppliers, right? The people providing the sensors, the people providing landing gear or propellers, batteries, those types of things, so that this really truly becomes a center of collaboration to bring all of those technologies together. And so that's what we're kind of looking at. And then we're bringing in the industry partners, the academic partners. So we have interest from our universities, both locally and across the state, to have a presence here, which is really exciting to get some of those big names here. And then, of course, support from ODOT, so that's the Ohio UAS Center. And then really the end game is we want them to come here to do this testing, to do the research and the collaboration, but we want to keep them in Ohio to manufacture. What I tell people, it's like working with the Henry Fords of flying cars. So, when Henry Ford was out there doing the Model T, and, at the end of the day, the manufacturing of all of these vehicles, that's, in Michigan, here in Ohio, we had a piece of that, but that's the long-term economic impact that we're looking for from this industry. And so we're just excited to get them here, attract them, give them just a bit of taste of what we're going. And as you heard, Harley, Beta's growing. They're looking for more team members, their presence here, and the same with the Lyft folks. So we'll continue to do that. So this is just a bit, I don't know how familiar you are with the airfield and the statistics. I mean, just gives you an idea of the acreage. It is owned by the city. The hangar space is limited right now. So that's one of the reasons we really want to push for this new center. And then looking at across the fence line, we have the Ohio Air National Guard. So Colonel Fitzgerald runs that. They have several missions, including they fly the MQ-9 Reaper, so overseas. So I don't know how familiar you are with their mission. Yeah, so you have folks right over on the other side of the flight line flying in combat areas, MQ-9 Reapers. Those are unmanned aerial systems, and so the pilots live here in Springfield, they work here, and the aircraft takes off from the desert, Iraq, wherever the mission is, and then these folks take over flying the aircraft and they do the actual flying. And so we have a 24/7 mission here, so we've got folks doing that national security mission 24/7. So that might be your very own separate news article, because a lot of people don't know that that's what the folks across the fence in uniform are doing there. And so we highlight them because as we continue to grow this unmanned advanced air mobility, there could be applications for the Guard and their defense missions as well. So we've got some partnerships with some of the folks over there to look at what we've got going on. So that's a good one, the Air National Guard. And then it talks about the infrastructure. I already talked about Sky Vision. So there is an air traffic control tower here. It is dormant, so it can be turned back on to make this a Class D airspace where we could, actually have traffic controllers here and increase that mission. But right now we don't see the need, so but that's a potential there. And then on the far side, you see all the customers and partnerships that are here. So that's the magnet, the mecca. This is where all these companies are coming. This is where it's all happening. So it's a really exciting time.
It's hard to see.
We have to add Air Camp. Do we have Air Camp on there? That's hot off the press.
Air
We gotta
camp,
put Air
yep,
Camp on.
and lift.
There we go. Okay, so just looking, at expanding the airport, talked a little bit about the why. And so Tom Franzen, Assistant City Manager, Seth Timmerman, the airport manager, they have done a phenomenal job of thinking forward, right? So if you look at their aircraft plans, they were already thinking about having flying cars and vertiports and charging stations and things like that. So when it came time last year, when the Air Force was saying, hey, we need this capability, they were able to literally roll out their maps on the conference room table and say, well, we had already planned for that, which allowed a much easier process when working with the FAA to bring these capabilities to the airport. So just huge kudos to the city of Springfield and all that they have done, future planning to look ahead. So that's part of their layouts. The new facility, the National Advanced Air Mobility Centers, we're looking at about an $8 million investment. I mentioned the hangar space and also the office space. 2-story, 30,000 square feet, 15,000. So that's kind of, we're working to see what the best mix is there. So we've got that. And then lots of work being done. As you saw, under construction already is the Beta charging station, and that's just going to expand that campus. And as you can see the logo, come here to research and test, stay here to build. So these are just some of the stats. So I don't know, Shannon, if you want to send this slide to Anna, it just gives you a feel for why this is so important. And even though we're 20 minutes down from AFRL, if you think about the researchers, the engineers, and my background is I used to be in, still am, I just don't practice it, Air Force engineer. A lot of folks don't get a chance to really see hardware, to see the weapon systems and platforms, right? They're in labs, they're doing research, they're coding. And so what this does, especially with Agility Prime, you've got companies like Beta and Joby who now are bringing their simulators here. And now I can bring those engineers, those program managers and acquisition folks. You can just hop in their car in 20 minutes, they can see hardware. They could fly the sim. They could maybe get a flight in the actual aircraft. And this really brings the fight closer to home. And as the Air Force now starts to focus on the defense applications of this technology, it gives the engineers and the program managers a first-hand seat, front row seat to what's going on. So that just gives you the stats on the workforce, AFMC. Of note is the airworthiness for these aircraft. So the FAA obviously approves, flying and safety and certification, all these things for the commercial airliners. The Air Force has its own process to receive certifications in order to fly platforms. What is really interesting and great about Agility Prime, it's almost a merging of the two. And so through this collaboration with the Air Force and the FAA and these companies, they're able to receive, I will say, kind of a shortened checklist, still the right stuff and getting everything, but they're using the Air Force pathway to be able to gain quicker certifications to get these guys testing, right? Not for the day-to-day and all that stuff. Those things will obviously follow that process, but in order to get us in the air quicker. I will say Hexa does not, they are under the ultralight category because of their weight that they have. And so they have a much easier time with their certifications because it's pretty open when you're in that category. But being